All right, continuing our Locked On most interesting NBA teams across the league, and the Orlando Magic got a couple of votes. I was a little interested at first, and then all of a sudden I put two and two together. Jamahl Mosley, former Mavericks assistant. There's some interesting players with the Magic, and so I had to bring on Philip Rossman-Reich, host of Locked On Magic. Philip, thanks for joining us, man.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
So let's take a look at the Orlando Magic. Like this is like a tanking team, right? What are the expectations for this team this season, and where do you feel that they are, going to land this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think the expectations this season are to just come out of it healthy. We'd like to see all the main players on the roster get through the whole season, minus chicanery at the end of the year. But I think the main goal for the course of the season is just to come out of it knowing or having some understanding of what this team's trying to be in the future. Like, I think what's really key is have an understanding of what this team's identity is and who they're trying to be so that they can start kind of assembling the pieces and players to get them to that point, or to get them to that goal, to that vision. This is a random mix of young guys right now. And so now they need to kind of figure out what their focus is and what they're trying to accomplish.
They're also in a weird spot where it seems like, oh, well, they don't have any star players. They don't have any but then they have a ton of dudes, right? Like they have a ton of players because you're all of a sudden thinking, okay, Markelle Fultz, when he comes back, he just got that contract. So he'll be, at the forefront of the guard position, but then they just drafted Jalen Suggs. Cole Anthony they just drafted, and they've been trying to bring him along. You also still have RJ Hampton. Like, where does Gary Harris fit and all that they just traded for? Is it just building off around Jalen Suggs? Do you think that's the guy that they're going to eventually build around? Or do you think that it's kind of just up for debate right now and up for, combat, like trial by combat? Basically, whoever comes out on top is going to be the one that they build around.
I mean, I think to some extent it's going to be trial by contact. I mean, I don't think anyone wants something handed to anybody. I mean, especially at this beginning stage of a rebuild, if you hand the keys to Jalen Suggs without him earning it, he's going to lose a lot of trust with people in the locker room. He's going to lose trust with a lot of his teammates, although everyone on this team seems to really like each other personally. He's just going to have this expectation that he's the guy. You do want him to earn it for sure. And I don't even think it's a sure thing that he's going to start, but you look at the roster, you look at the talent level on this roster. Jalen Suggs, at least for now, because yes, we're talking about a team that's probably at the bottom of the standings and might be looking at another high lottery pick next year. For now, Jalen Suggs, I think, is the guy that they believe can turn into a star and can turn into a player that they can really build around, or at least a player that will be a key part of the core moving forward. I think the Magic certainly want to see what Jonathan do with kind of more responsibility offensively, because you look at his numbers, he was always the fifth guy in the lineup. He's never had a usage rate greater than 20% in any season he's played. And I know he hasn't played a lot, but essentially this is a guy that's just kind of there on the floor as a cutter, a slasher, cutting along the baseline. If he hits an open three, great. He's there for his defense more than anything else. Now he's one of the team leaders. He's one of the older players on the team, believe it or not. The Magic are going to want to put the ball in his hands a little bit more and give him a little bit more freedom to shoot, which he's never really had. So, like I said, a big part of this season is figuring out what you have and how you build to what you ultimately envision. Some of that is also figuring out, okay, where does each of these players ultimately fit in the bigger picture, and what do we need to go get to kind of emphasize the guys we want to focus on?
Are Isaac and Fultz supposed to be ready for the season? Is that the expectation?
I would expect Isaac will be ready for the start of the season. The Magic are notoriously quiet on injury issues, and they are notoriously cautious on bringing guys back. Jonathan Isaac actually had like a festival with his church, kind of a charity festival a few weeks ago, and the Orlando Sentinel caught up with him, and he said, he wouldn't commit that he'd be ready for training camp, which is a little bit concerning considering his surgery was August 9th, 2020. It's been more than a year. ACL injuries, as I'm sure you guys know in Dallas, the issue is not necessarily that you can come back. It's the time it takes to recover, and 12 months is usually a pretty good benchmark. I still think Isaac will probably be ready for the start of the season. I find it hard to believe it would take that long. He said that he is, starting to finish around the rim, which, could mean he's dunking, could mean a lot of things. It doesn't sound like he's necessarily playing 5-on-5, full contact, whatever at this point. Markelle Fultz got hurt in January. I suspect he won't be back until around Christmas. maybe Thanksgiving if everything's going really well. I think there's a little bit more pressure for him to try and get back on the court because of his contract situation. But it's not clear when either of those guys are going to be back on the floor, which, only adds to the mystery and intrigue of this team.
Seriously, yeah. When you put it like that, Fultz isn't going to come back till Christmas. That puts the ball even more in Jalen Suggs' hands. Like, this is really from the jump going to be kind of his team, at least from the beginning, because who's going to take it from him? Like, is Cole Anthony going to take it from him?
Cole Anthony would be your best bet, but you go back and look at Summer League. I thought there was some fun alpha posturing at the end of the Magic first Summer League game against the Warriors. Jalen Suggs,
some good Summer League alpha posturing.
No, I mean, seriously, like I was watching it, I was like, watching it, like Jalen Suggs, the Magic were down 8 in the fourth quarter. Again, Summer League, calm down. But the Magic are down 8 in the fourth quarter. Jalen Suggs goes on a little scoring flurry, gets them tied, gets them back in the game. And then the last minute and a half, Cole Anthony has the ball in his hands, and he's not shooting well. He's not playing particularly well. He's got the ball in his hands. You could just kind of tell, like, Cole Anthony's like, I'm winning this game. I hit 2 game winners last year. I'm going to win this game. He proceeded to, I think, miss a jumper and then turn the ball over on 2 straight possessions, and Jalen Suggs bailed him out with a block shot to force overtime. Yeah. And from that point on, I was just like, oh, this is Jalen Suggs' team, and he made it known that this is his show to run. So who knows? I mean, Cole, to his credit, is a huge cheerleader for everyone on the team, but we'll see how much that changes when someone's eating into his minutes.
Speaking of running the show, what's been the reception of Jamahl Mosley by Magic fans, by Magic media, by people in Orlando? What do you think has been the reception for Jamahl Mosley, and what are the expectations for him as a coach?
Yeah, I think there's high expectations for Jamahl Mosley, not necessarily for wins losses. I mean, I think everyone understands it's going to be a rough season on that front, but I think what a lot of people are expecting is that the style of play is going to be very, very different. Mosley, we're starting to learn, we haven't had a ton of interaction with Jamahl Mosley. Obviously, it's just summer league. COVID's kind of restricted everyone from being around a lot of the players as much as the coaching staff and figuring out who they are. But
he coached the summer league team, right?
He did coach this. Yeah. He coached the summer league. He coached the training camp for summer league, which to me was probably more important than summer league itself, to be honest. It felt like they actually ran a real training camp and real practices to let him kind of get his feet wet. And the Magic had a lot of players that are going to be on the roster, participate in summer league practices. Even Mo Bamba came over and practiced with the team before they actually began the summer league games, although he did not play in the summer league itself. So he coached the team. He got that experience with them. Everyone seems to, at least fans, really like the quiet confidence. He is speaking very positively about everyone, which is something that we expected. But I think the big thing everyone's expecting is that he's really gonna really push his team to push the pace a little bit more and be more aggressive and assertive. Steve Clifford is a fantastic coach. I think he was the right coach for that veteran group. He's a very conservative coach. His rules are: don't turn the ball over, don't give up offensive rebounds, don't give up points in the paint. It's very much make them beat you. Don't try and force things to happen. And with a young roster like this, I think everyone wants to see the Magic be a little bit more aggressive, get into guys a little bit more, go for steals, try and get out and transition a little bit more. And that seems to be something that Mosley, maybe not stressing to the nth degree, to the extreme degree, but is something that is part of how Mosley wants to run his team and wants his team to play. The buzzwords that he's kind of given to everyone, which nobody knows what they mean quite yet. On offense, he wants the team to play with pace, space, and the pass. And on defense, he wants them to be tough, together, and talking, which again, who knows what any of that means at this point. Those are just buzzwords.
Those are Carlisle words too, by the way. A couple of those are definite Carlisle buzzwords for sure.
Oh, for sure. And I'm sure there's a lot borrowed from George Karl on there as well.
Carlisle, Rick Carlisle.
Yeah. We don't know what any of those words mean. So we're going to probably spend training camp and preseason defining those words.
Last thing for you, is there somebody that I'm not thinking about enough or talking about, or we're not talking about enough with the Magic? I mean, Chuma Okeke is a guy that kind of sticks out as, he could be a really interesting player. Is it Franz Wagner? I haven't even mentioned his name yet so far. Is there somebody that can, maybe Wendell Carter Jr. maybe? Is there somebody that could pop that we're not talking about enough?
I think Chuma Okeke is a guy that not a lot of people are talking about. He kind of flew under the radar last year. He was a rookie last year because he sat out a year with the torn ACL. So he, again, Mavericks fans probably know this as well as anyone. Torn ACLs, it's almost a year to recover completely from the injury, and then another year of actually playing before you're kind of back to normal. Last year was Okiki's kind of get back to normal season, and I think the Magic were really impressed with him overall. I mean, his numbers don't look fantastic. He's kind of coming off the bench. He's definitely a rookie. He was making rookie mistakes, but he shoots the ball really well. He just needs a little bit of confidence to work off the dribble. And when the Magic were able to kind of give him some time and space to play off the dribble and attack the basket, he was surprisingly effective. He had some really strong games for the team last year. He had a really nice run as well. I think it was in December or January when the Magic made a West Coast trip and they had literally no one else to play. He really stepped up, and he seems like he's a guy that does a lot of the right things that coaches like. I would definitely keep an eye on Chuma Okeke. And another name that we have not mentioned at all that, again, the fit is kind of interesting. It's still kind of hard to figure out exactly where he goes. RJ Hampton.
Yeah.
Real, Dallas guy, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
He's really, really fast. And with a lot of those speedy guys, you got to figure out how to control that speed. Just playing for the Magic last year did wonders for him. He got better as the season went on. And he accumulated a lot of stats in garbage time, but it's better you do that than not do that. And I think what's really going to be interesting is how much he's improved now that he's gotten playing time. He's in an environment where they want him to play, and they're not going to kind of put winning pressure on him.
It's going to be an interesting team. Maybe not fun to watch, but there are definitely going to be some interesting moments for sure. There's going to be. I would say this about the Magic. They're not going to win a lot of games.
Yeah. But they're going to be a team that, when they pop up on League Pass, and if it's a close game, you're going to watch.
Okay, there you go. Philip Rossman-Reich, go follow him on Twitter. Go listen to Locked On Magic and also the Orlando Magic Daily. Go check it out. Thanks so much for joining us, Phil.
No problem.